Hi everybody, Dr. Reynolds here yet again with another video to update you on how things are progressing here at the clinic, and also to share with you a few more thoughts about how to manage and get through these challenging times today, especially regarding children. Now, as far as our clinic is concerned, we're still planning on opening up on the day after Memorial Day. And Jessica is busy arranging those schedules, and if you haven't heard from her soon, you will. So again, we're very excited to have you all coming back and for us to get back into the swing of things. In addition, the next video will be an actual walkthrough of what you can expect or what your child can expect when you come here. A way to introduce you to some of our sanitary procedures so that you and your child will be comfortable in knowing what to expect. So that will be the next video. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some issues, let's say, that are challenging for many families, and in some respects, almost like the elephant in the room. And by that I mean video games. Now, even under the best of circumstances in normal times, children and video games are oftentimes topics that are frustrating to parents. Children not wanting to be regulated, parents wanting them to spend more time doing things other than video games. And that battle has basically been lost as a result of the coronavirus because the kids are at home so much now. It's hard to limit their video gaming or their electronics time like you would like to. My concern about many of the children who come here, particularly those who have ADHD, is that their social skills are not as well developed as their peers. And unfortunately, the video games only add to that, let's say, underdevelopment. During this very challenging time now, where all of the children are pretty much at home, they're no longer interacting with one another. So whatever social skills deficits or delays they've had are only exacerbated because of what's going on. And many of these children are turning to electronics as their source of entertainment and engagement. Video games in and of themselves are not bad. It's just when they're used to excess, they retard other areas of development. I'm also worried about a couple of other things that I'm seeing with some of our adolescent and young adult populations during this challenging time, and one of them is vaping. The number of kids vaping more nowadays as a result of all of this has increased steadily. I did mention to you the last video that alcohol consumption has gone up tremendously across all age groups. So in light of that, you might want to keep an eye on your liquor cabinet. I oftentimes hear about those cabinets being raided and you not finding out until sometime later. Also, marijuana smoking is on the increase significantly, and that's another thing to be very mindful of, as I'm sure you are, but kids can be very, very clever about that, and it's sometimes hard for parents to detect, especially if you're trying your best to work from home and you've got other things to be concerned about. But let's get back to the video games for a minute, because and the amount of time that we allow our children to be on electronics. Even though this is a difficult time, I'm still not in favor of unlimited video time or electronics time. That there needs to be some management of that. And the reason I say that is because we're not always going to be in this period of time where everybody is stuck at home and children are not going to school. And if your children really get hooked into big time into indiscriminate use of video time, you're going to have a much bigger battle on your hands when it's time for them to return to school. So I'm still in favor of managing it and limiting it, maybe not as much as when they're in school, but certainly to some degree. And each household is going to be different in that regard, but if any child is gaming more than 4 or 5 hours in a day, that in my mind is still excessive, even under the current circumstances. So what's a parent supposed to do then when they're home and the kids are home and the kids are complaining that there's nothing to do, so why can't I play video games or why can't I be on my electronics? Well, even though it's more work, I am going to encourage you to consider doing more family engagement. I'd like to see families do more things together, and one of the easiest things to do and the most structured things to do are actually games, but just not video games. Board games are a good example. In addition, there are many games that have been developed recently which have very strong social development components, so that not only can you have good quality family time, but you can also be helping your children developing social skills. For example, Pictionary is a very good game for families to play because it's highly interactive and it requires a fair amount of, let's say, verbal and facial and nonverbal cues and stimulus to process. UNO has a flexible thinking program, or one of their games has to do with flexible thinking, which has an element of helping children to develop social flexibility. But this is particularly helpful with children who get easily frustrated, have oppositional tendencies, to help them to be more flexible in the way that they approach problems and problem solving. There are other games which kids enjoy that also have a lot of strategic value, like thinking ahead. Planning ahead is an executive function, which many children with ADHD struggle with. Stratego is a good game along those lines. Risk is a very good game, teaching kids how to think about the bigger picture, how to think more strategically, how to work together, how to work against others to try to maximize outcome. So these are the kind of games that I find can be very helpful, very useful, not just as a way for families to relate to one another and to spend good quality family time, but also to be able to develop some of these social skills more predominantly. There's another game, blanking on the name of it, Table Topics. This is another game that's come out recently in which it basically is designed to stimulate talk around the family table about topics of interest. And it helps children as well as parents talk about things in ways that they might not otherwise. So I guess the point I'm trying to make in all of this is let's try to use the time that we have now as profitably as possible. Let's use this time as a way to come together more as a family. Even though it's stressful, and even though you've all got plenty of things to do, these are the kind of things that I think can develop and mature a family rather than everybody stressed out and angry with one another, or you're angry with your kids because they're excessively gaming. Let's take some time out to take advantage of this period and see if we can't move our families in a much more positive direction. Well, that's it for now. I'm looking forward again to the next video, which is going to be again introducing you to the new procedures at our clinic. Again, as always, if you have questions, concerns, things that you would like to talk about in the interim, please don't hesitate to contact us. Always good speaking with you. God bless.